Welcome to This Explainer. We are jumping straight into something today that is just so deeply, profoundly human. We're looking at a fantastic piece by D.R. Diaz called The Blueprint of Creation, From Foundations to Fatherhood. And really, at its core, this is a story about his son learning the ropes of life, creation, and purpose simply by watching his parents. I mean, imagine growing up and watching your dad build houses with his bare hands. And I don't mean that metaphorically, I mean literally. Wood, nails, sweat, and Saturday mornings that started way before the sun even thought about coming up. As a kid, Diaz watched his dad take absolutely nothing, or maybe something completely broken, and turn it into a home. The guy didn't talk a big game about it, he just got up and did it. And that sets this amazing stage for us to look at why we make things and how every single one of us can become builders in our own lives. So growing up in that environment, Diaz just assumed, this is what people do, they build stuff. It took him over 30 years to realize that actually, no, that is definitely not the norm. The reality is, most people go through their entire lives waiting for someone else to give them a green light. They wait for a boss to hand them a project or some platform to approve their brilliant idea. But true creators, they don't wait around for permission. They see a gap in the world and they just start filling it. Now, what's really fascinating here is that Diaz grew up with two entirely different models for how to create. On one side, you have his father's approach, super physical, very hands-on. He's building literal futures with a measuring tape and a hammer. But on the other side, we have his mother's approach. She was a real estate investor. No fancy corner office, just a legal pad, an incredibly sharp mind, and an eye for what an empty plot of land could eventually become. She was highly analytical, seen the future through numbers and sheer potential. So Diaz grew up absorbing this wild generational synthesis, right? The physical muscle to actually build a structure, combined with the analytical brain to see its future value. And here's where it gets really applicable for us today. Diaz realized he could take both of those models, his dad's physical building and his mom's analytical strategy, and elevate them with a dimension they never had access to: the internet. I mean, think about how magical that actually is. You take the care of physical craftsmanship, you mix it with smart business strategy, and you leverage the web. It literally means a design you sketch out at 2 a.m. in Rochester, Minnesota, can be printed on a shirt and worn by someone in Rotterdam the very next day. The sheer scale of how we build has completely changed. All of this taps into the actual psychology behind making things. You know those people who just cannot stop creating? They literally wake up with ideas they didn't go to sleep with. Well, psychologists actually have a formal term for this: entrepreneurial cognition. But Diaz, he just calls it an inability to sit still. It's that physical, almost nagging discomfort you feel when you spot a gap between what exists right now and what could exist. It isn't about feeding your ego. It's this profound, restless drive to bring an idea out of your head and into reality. And listen, this urge, it is absolutely not some new modern tech trend. It's literally the oldest human impulse we have. Since prehistoric times, humans have been saying, hey, I was here. I made a mark. We started out painting on cave walls. Then we built these massive, towering cathedrals in the Middle Ages. We wrote lullabies just to sing to our kids, knowing they'd grow up and sing them to theirs. And today? Today we build digital businesses, we record podcasts, we design clothing. The medium changes, sure, but that deep compulsion to make the world just a little bit different because you were in it, that stays exactly the same. Diaz's dad probably thought he was just fixing a leaky roof, but he was actually capping into this ancient lineage and teaching his son the essence of entrepreneurship. Okay, so let's get into a really practical application of this. Diaz makes this bold argument that every single creative person needs a store. Why? Because a store is a declaration. It's taking a position. When you open a store, even just a tiny online one, you undergo one of the most underrated psychological shifts a human being can experience. You completely transition from being a passive consumer to an active creator. You stop walking through the world asking, what can I buy today? And you start asking, what can I make? You're no longer just a passenger in the economy, you are a participant. Now, Diaz is a father of 4, and as any parent knows, when you have kids, your life is suddenly no longer your primary project. Your children's futures become the new blueprint, and the questions you ask yourself completely shift. You stop obsessing over what you can achieve right this second, and you start asking a much bigger question. What am I building that will actually outlast me? What exactly am I modeling when my kids sit there and watch how I spend my time? So with that kind of legacy in mind, Diaz sat down and distilled his entire diverse career into a core blueprint. He calls them the 5 principles of building things. And honestly, whether you're building a literal house, a new piece of software, or a clothing brand, these are the practical, hard-earned rules you really need to keep in your back pocket. Let's walk through them together.
All right. Principle number 1.
The first thing you make will be imperfect. And the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this is not a problem. This is simply the tuition you pay to learn. Diaz points out that his dad's very first house, it probably had a crooked wall somewhere. But perfection wasn't the point. The point was that he actually poured the foundation, he learned exactly why the wall was crooked, and he built the next house better. You cannot let the fear of being imperfect stop you from starting.
Moving right along to principle number 2.
I am obsessed with this quote. Ready is a myth invented by fear. Seriously, you do not need to wait until you feel fully ready, because spoiler alert, you are never going to feel fully ready. You just have to launch, and then you learn. You put your work out into the world, and the market will quickly tell you what it actually needs. Your job isn't to be a mind reader. Your job is to build the thing, listen to the feedback, and adapt.
Let's look at principle number 3.
This one beautifully bridges the spiritual with the highly practical. What you make is, fundamentally, an extension of who you are. Because of that, authenticity isn't just some nice woo-woo concept. It is a ruthlessly effective business strategy. People are smart, right? They can instantly feel the difference between something crafted with genuine intention and something that was just hastily slapped together to chase a viral TikTok trend. You have to make the thing that only you could make.
Next up, principle number 4. Now here, we see the direct influence of Diaz's mom. Passive income sometimes gets a really bad rap, but it is absolutely not laziness, it's leverage. When his mom was investing in real estate, she wasn't being lazy, not at all. She was using her intense intelligence and her capital to build a structure that generated returns while she slept. An online store or digital product works the exact same way. You build it once, pouring immense care into it, and then it works for you across time zones, giving you time back that you didn't even know you had. And finally, principle number 5.
Creating for others is a form of prayer. Honestly, this is a truth most entrepreneurs just do not talk about. When Diaz writes a song or designs a t-shirt, he is deeply intentionally considering the person who's going to receive it. He's asking, what do they need to feel today? What truth do they need to wear like armor on their body? When you make something for someone else, it is a literal act of service. And service, when it's done with full, unselfish intention, is sacred. It connects us to one another in a way very few other things can. So how does Diaz actually put all this into practice? Well, he recently opened his own online store, offering clothing for everyone from tiny babies to adults. And why did he do it? Because he strongly believes that every single stage of life deserves something made with real intention. His flagship design is this incredible piece called the River Nose. It's a stunning gold sacred geometry mandala set on black. And he didn't just design it to be trendy. It was born out of a healing song he wrote about trusting the current of your own life. It's quite literally physical armor carrying a spiritual message, offered up in service to whoever might need to wear it today. Which brings us to our final parting thought. The river knows where it goes. You do too. Whatever your personal version of building a house looks like, whether that's writing an article, opening a store, recording a song, or finally starting that business, just make it. Do not wait for permission. Trust that deep, restless impulse your ancestors felt, the exact same impulse a father tries to pass down to his son with a simple hammer and nails. So, what are you going to build today that will outlast you? The blueprint is sitting right there in your hands. But pouring the foundation? Well, that is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now get out there and start building.